Hello. So is it, I mean, I know Eric is your real name. Is Theric is this like when do you choose which?
It's a good question, and it hasn't been stable my entire career. But what I've kind
Okay.
of settled on is anything that isn't academic or explicitly and I don't want to say seriously because that seems to denigrate fiction, but something that is explicitly and openly, sincerely, maybe religious. I use my real name,
Okay.
and everything else is Theric. So essays, poetry, fiction, plays, comics, whatever I try to stick a finger into, I do it as Theric.
Okay. Okay. Well, that helps. Because here it is, your story, The Hunger of Ghosts is as Theric. So
That's right.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And if we're talking about names, can I ask you a question about names?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know how open you are to for the same question, but I I have seen you as Gina Brooke, but your name appears to be Gina Mason Stay. Is that like
Jeanna Brooke is a really ancient relic at this point. Brooke was my middle name. I mean, Brooke is I don't know. Technically, it's not even really anymore. I don't think it is legally anymore.
you
But
changed?
before I was married, Jeanna Brooke Mason.
Okay.
And then I dropped the Brooke and kept the Mason stay. So when I got married. So yeah,
Okay. It's
that's,
not a fact. Yeah.
but like my email address and things it's really old, you know?
Been using it a long time.
So yeah,
All right. Well, that was my theory, and I am glad to have it confirmed. Thank you.
you're so
Um,
welcome.
and now I guess we can jump into our stories.
Sure.
I really loved yours. I thought it was really
Oh,
fun
thank you.
and charming. I know sometimes charming is used in a dismissive way, but I don't mean it that way. Like I was very charmed by the character and the relationship she ends up in with the ghost. And
Okay, good. Thank you. Um, yeah, it's definitely not it's not a like a very haunting haunting ghost story, right? I will also say I loved reading yours as well. I really enjoyed sort of the gradually seeing what this character had been doing, and then at the end, I won't talk exactly what happens at the end, but just the recontextualizing so that I understood what was happening in this story and why this story was being told the way it was. Um, I was like, well, that was fantastic. And I love the concept that you have of, I think it's probably not too spoilery to say um, that tools can hold the ghosts, the souls of the people who who held them as they died. And I really dug it. It was very cool. I really enjoyed reading that one.
Thanks. I appreciate that because we could call it a twist in the point of view, sort of.
Hmm.
Not exactly. It's still the same character talking that it's been all along, but our understanding of what he's saying and why and to who and so forth. And I really wanted that was part of what I wanted to do in the story, but also something that I was worried would come off as a cheap last minute gimmick. So I'm
Mm.
grateful for you saying that it works because
Yeah, no, it did not come off that way to me because you have if it came out of nowhere, I feel like it may have felt more that way. But I could look back at the beginning and say, oh, this makes sense. I understand exactly how we got to this point in the story. So I thought it worked great. It was a great just um shift. Yeah, I think shift of the perspective of what was going on. I really as a writer, I really enjoyed the poke at the notion that short story writers make any money at all.
you and I know a little about that. Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
um,
Although props to Lintusen for paying us at all. Like
yeah, yeah.
often I don't get paid anything, so I'm not complaining
Oh
about
yeah,
this.
no, no,
This is not a jab at this anthology, but just an
no. But
observation of reality.
I think it's a reality that most short story writers, I mean, we just live with, and we just say, hey, it's fun to get paid some, and
Yeah.
we're writing, and it's, you know, we're writing mostly because I think for me anyway, short stories are great because I can finish them faster than
Mhm.
a big, longer work. And because I can explore weird stuff that just would not bear out in a novel very well. Um, and then, to get paid for that is also fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I think short stories are so fertile. Like they do different things than novels. It's not a shorter novel. Like it's a different, they have different
It's a
strengths
it's a
and
very different thing, yeah.
you get to play with them. I'm actually struggling with this right now. There's for an upcoming issue of a magazine I want to submit a story, but and I haven't actually started writing yet, but I've been doing a lot of brainstorming and it really feels like a novel. And I'm trying to fix that. And but maybe the story just won't, I don't know. My hope is to have a working draft by the end of the month, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I have written I've definitely started a few short stories that I thought were for sure short stories, and they weren't. And that was it's like, oh, that is not what that was, um, what that's going to end up being. So I hope that you find a way to keep it as a short story, because
Yeah,
that's
I hope so too, because I can't start another novel before I at least finish one that is, in process. I'm really bad about starting projects and they never die because I never finish them. And but
I get distracted by shiny new things.
yeah, I
But
mean it's easy, especially if like there's a deadline just a month from now, and I know it's like it's gonna be under 5,000 words, and it's really
yeah,
satisfying to finish something. But
yeah.
and I guess I gave up a long time ago on the notion of this will be my career in which I support me and mine monetarily. Like that's not really my goal anymore. I'd rather do what I want to do.
Hmm.
And so having given that up, it maybe isn't so terrible. But I mean, best case scenario, I suppose, financially for a short story writer is you get a first look contract with a New Yorker and you sell them maybe two or three a year, which would be incredible at $1,500 each. But you're not buying,
Yeah.
dinner every day on that.
No, no, not at all. Yeah.
So, Gina,
So
are you a chess player?
I am really not,
Okay.
honestly. I had to go to my husband and have him tell me I mean, and of course do research as well, but I had to have him tell me like, what are the good terms to be using in this story? I know how to play chess, but I really struggle with the thinking multiple steps ahead. That is
Yeah.
not, I love to play games, but I actually like I play them for fun, and for me that's not fun.
Yeah.
Like to have to think that far ahead. So I'm a bad chess player. I can do it, but
Yeah.
no good.
Similar. I'm also a bad chess player. I can think ahead, but if I do, I forget completely about the present. And then
Yeah.
yeah. And so I can choose one or the other. I'm the sort of person who can teach someone chess, and by the third game, they're going to beat me pretty consistently
Yeah.
because I'm just, yeah. I'm just not motivated enough to like, I don't know, or I don't know what it is, but I have accepted that also.
Yeah.
So, was chess part of the story from the beginning?
It was. So the origin of this story was there is this contest, and I don't I don't generally subscribe to paying money to write,
Yes.
except in rare cases. And this is one of those cases where it was a contest where they would give you um, a location and an object and a genre,
Oh,
and you had 48 hours to write a story.
oh,
And then you were grouped in little heats essentially against people who had those same three things.
fun.
And so this story originally came from that contest, where it was supposed to be based at a was it a chess camp? I can't remember. It was something, a chess school or something. And so that's that's originally why I wrote it. And it was supposed to be a ghost story. And so that's how it came up. Otherwise, I don't know that I would have set
That's
anything in a chess school.
that's actually I love that. I love that concept. I would love to be I would love to do something like that. That sounds fun. And
Yeah.
also, as we were saying, like it's a good way to just generate work.
Yep.
It's to have a
Yeah.
deadline and a prompt. So
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah. That. that contest, it's called New York City Midnight, and they do a whole bunch of different things, but the flash contests were my favorite. I was doing them for a while. I was looking at it as kind of like, a runner can run. They
Mhm.
can just run on their own and not have to pay anyone for it, or they can enter a race and like, pay to be in the marathon. And so that's how it was for me. But I kept on getting assigned ghost stories as a genre.
Uh-huh.
And I had never written really ghost stories I mean, like I wrote a little bit of horror when I was a teen, when I was an angsty teen. But I hadn't written any ghost stories for ages. And I just kept on getting assigned ghost stories over and over and over again. So um, that is, I think, how I became a person who actually likes writing ghost stories now
Uh-huh.
from getting assigned those. So
It was
yeah,
fate.
it was a fun competition, and it was during a time when I really needed external um, deadlines and impetus and force to do something, to do some writing. So
It helps to
that's
build the right kind of inertia.
yeah, yep,
Yeah. So I take
yep.
it you didn't win. Is that
No, but a couple of my stories placed pretty high in the groups. I mean, they're pretty massive numbers of people.
oh,
So a couple of my stories placed pretty high, and this one, obviously, I published. Um, Another one I published on Daily Science Fiction, which is this website. Fantastic
good
flash
website.
fiction, like
Yeah.
beautiful stuff. Love it. Um, Everyone was sad when they stopped publishing. Um, but so one of my stories, a ghost story, I submitted to them, and another one. I actually have another one of the ones that came out of this whole project uh, coming out later this year also. So
It's great. Yeah, well, that was actually exactly what I wanted to ask you because mine, this is the fourth time I've submitted it, which isn't by no means
oh
a record, right?
yeah, yeah, no,
Um, I think it's good for if anybody watches this, and if any of those people who do watch it are like want to be writers, like yeah, it takes a while sometimes to find the right place for your story.
for sure. Yeah. Lots of rejections. I had a year where my goal was to get rejections so that I would force myself to submit.
Hmm.
So yeah. So this one had made the rounds a little bit and you
Yeah,
finally
this
got
was its
for it.
fourth time out of the house.
Okay.
I originally wrote it for a project on Kickstarter that
Oh,
was
okay.
being kickstarted, and they had submissions out, and so I wrote it for that originally, and then sent it a couple places, and it finally found a place. Oh, I mean, it's funky little stories. They do need to find the right home.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved your story. I'm so glad I got to read it. I'm excited to be in a publication with it because it was a great story. And I it's like I wanted to my children are not ghost story readers, but I wanted to go to my daughter and be like, read it. It's not scary. It's
Yeah.
just cool.
Yeah, I haven't read the rest of Ghostly yet, but based on mine and yours, I'm not sure it's going to be a horror fest.
No,
Yeah.
at least not ours. I've read a couple of the others so far. And one of them was definitely more in the standard horror genre. Um, and the other one not so much. So I'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, I much prefer reading on paper. So if I'm kind of waiting for the paper copy.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
But it makes me in the modern, and by modern I mean like right now, ecosystem of anthologies. I think most of them are getting sold to ebook readers. But or people who read ebooks, I should say, and ebook
Yeah,
readers a
yeah,
device. But
yeah, yeah.
I
Understood.
tried to get into that, and I did read the entire, like I read Moby Dick on a Nook, so like I made a real effort to become a person who reads ebook, and it never clicked. I'm a paper guy through and through. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, interesting. I definitely was a late adopter for ebooks, but at this point, our house is very full of many things,
yeah, we have so many books. We have so many books, Gina.
including
Yeah,
many books. And so
yeah.
I
I mean,
yeah.
it's not true, of course, but it's a close enough to true that it can be said out loud that my wife would probably love me more if our books were ebooks, because there's just so many of them. We do not live in a big house. So
Yeah, I think that's the I don't know, that's the perennial problem of being a reader, right? Is
yeah.
space, the space for books. So do you like writing ghost stories? Is this a standard genre for you, or is this a outside of your norm?
When I was a teenager, I came up with because I was that kind of teenager, like a term for the kind of writer I was. I was a Bazarist, which is a portmanteau of bizarre and bazaar. The idea being that
Okay.
I could do anything, right? All genres were open to me, and I would have my own
Sure.
spin on it. And it ends up, speaking of like monetary decisions, a terrible one. Like, not a good way to make a living is to do a little bit of everything, but it's true. I do. I have published, actually, have I published any more ghost stories? I've written a couple more. Off the top of my head, I can't remember when I've published. I haven't written a lot of them. I've written a few, but I have published some horror
Okay.
in non-ghost story stuff. But
Hmm.
yeah, I wouldn't call it a regular for me, but I'm a big believer in the value of horror fiction. I think there's something really valuable about uh, examining darkness in
Hmm.
safety,
Hmm.
and considering what it means and what it's for, um, and how we deal with it. And fiction it's the laboratory of the soul, right? Like, it's a good place to explore things that maybe it's best not to explore in real life, or not to explore more than once, or intentionally. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, for me, I find that I don't know, I don't write straight up horror. So most of my ghost stories are actually a lot of my stories, especially in the past few years, are very much about sort of about grief and about like missed opportunities and stuff. And that's I think what ends up in my ghost stories more than like straight up horror is is what do we do with the ghosts of the people who are, who are gone. Um and so I think that that's kind of what shows up in a very light way in this one, but in some of my others a little bit more heavy. Like what do we do with that? And I think that's another I love that about fiction in general is the opportunity to explore stuff uh that I think we all occasionally have to explore and have to deal with, but hopefully can also do it from a distance sometimes. Watch characters deal with all of that
yeah,
instead of ourselves.
and I think you're right that that's what ghost stories are for. Like, even the very scary ones, I think they are about like grappling with the past, and
Yeah.
so that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
As far as your protagonist
Mm-hmm.
in your story, she's in an interesting position in that, I mean, she can regret choices she's made, I guess, but kind of what she regrets is an opportunity she's never had. She's just so good at chess, and
Mm-hmm.
there hasn't really been a teacher who can keep up with her.
Mm-hmm.
And so for her, it's almost reversed. Like, her regrets are thinking about a future where she can't quite reach her full potential because um her where's the opportunity?
Yeah.
And but the ghost is more traditionally is, I mean, I don't want to give very much away about the relationship between them, but um it's more he's a traditional ghost, right? He's in the past. He's
Yeah. Yeah.
trapped and has unfinished business and so on and so forth. Um, and speaking of twists, I like how, oh, I don't even know how to say this. I like how the question of what is unfinished business and what is actually, and is that what a ghost might actually need, is ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
I know you know what I mean, I think,
I
but
yes.
I'm worried that may be too obtuse for anybody who's clicked and pressed play, but that's the best I can do, because
Good
I
enough.
don't want to ruin the conclusion of your story.
Yeah.
But yours does
Yeah.
have like traditional haunted house stuff too. There's like stuff
It
flying around,
does.
and the thing I like the most is, I think, is how the ghost communicates. The way you describe like the air in the room talking, and
Mm.
I really love that. And I don't know if you have this bad habit, and I think it might be inevitable for people who live in the 21st century, but it's really hard for me to read fiction without part of my brain thinking about how to adapt it to film. And I'm always really happy when something happens that I can't think of a good way to do it. So like the way the
Mm,
ghost communicates, like I know how it would happen in a movie probably, but it wouldn't capture like the magic of what's in the story and the way I feel what I think the character is feeling as I read it. Like I don't know how to do that on film. So don't
mhm.
wait for the movie, folks.
No. For a variety of reasons, and that's one of them. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about I love the presence of ghosts, I guess. I mean, I don't really love the idea of the actual presence of ghosts, right? But like I love the presence of ghosts in stories because they can do stuff that we can't, and they can be, more. And definitely that does not translate well into film. I think film just loses a lot of the magic of the written words, no matter what. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, I love
and you're
movies, but they don't do what words do. They have different strengths. Like
oh yeah,
honestly, I
yeah.
don't want to read the Avengers novel. Very happy
No,
to just
no,
watch the Avengers. Like that's the
correct.
right format for that story, but
Yeah,
um novels can do things that film just can't do. It can't get
yeah.
inside people in the same way.
Yeah, I was going to say your story really has the interiority that like your ghost story is wonderful and would make a terrible film.
I don't know how you even like even a short, I just don't know how you even do it.
No, I mean, it would be, you could have this dude sitting at a desk,
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know.
I'd be happy to sell the rights to anyone who wants to try. But I think what would end up happening is you'd end up like the main character, instead of writing a letter, would be off killing people and taking their pens,
Yeah,
or their
yeah,
hammers or their paintbrushes or whatever it is that they were holding.
right.
And that
Yep.
is not the same thing.
That is not that story, not your story at all. No. So if you could acquire the tool of someone who
Oh,
is
oh my
that
gosh.
is that a dangerous question?
Yeah, because it's one thing that I hope readers experience is once they figure out what's going on to think it's cool, and then by the end think, no, this is a curse.
Yeah.
And so like I think about speaking of as a teenager, like my favorite writer as a teenager was probably James Thurber.
Okay.
And I just I loved him so much, and I read everything he wrote. And the idea of writing like James Thurber would be really cool, but actually, like, no, like I wouldn't want to have be doing what James Thurber does. You know what I would like, I think, is maybe I don't know if there's one tool. I'm trying to think of a really practical career, like a carpenter or a plumber or an
Mm,
electrician, but I don't know if there's one tool that allows you to do all the things they can do. And I
no.
still might end up electrocuting myself. So I guess the lesson is stay in school, kids. Actually learn how to do stuff for yourself.
That is a good lesson, actually. Yes. Yeah.
Did one come to your
I
mind?
oh no. I hope to be old and wise enough to realize the same thing. Like this is not what anyone wants. It sounds really great on paper, but living, doing your own thing is always the better option, really.
Yeah. And this is Gina and I's public service announcement against using AI in your art.
Oh, yes, for sure. For sure. It on the one hand, like I understand where some of the desire is coming from. Like I want to create what I can maybe see in my head or whatever. Um, but this is not the way. It just loses, I think, so much of the human soul to that goes into the creation process. You know, creation really does, I think, um, require humanity.
Yeah, and it requires the things about ourselves that we don't fully understand.
Hmm.
And the fact that we don't understand them ourselves means that it's really difficult to replicate in a meaningful way.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's hard to put into words and create the prompts to, I mean, I think as writers, I feel that way a lot of the times when I'm writing my stories is even as I'm trying to put it into words, I can't quite get it, what's in my head. I'm just coming as
Yeah.
close as I can um, to that thing.
So, well, that's one of the things I like about it is there's the opportunity to never be done with growth.
Yeah,
That writing is one of those things that doesn't matter how good you are, you can still get better.
yeah.
And I understand why someone might find that depressing, but I find that really exciting. There's a line in an Anthony Trollope novel. It goes something like, and I think about this in terms of writing a lot. It says something like, success is the one necessary disaster of like life, but it's only truly a disaster if it happens when you're too young. And maybe that just makes me feel better because it's way too late for me to be too young to have my success. But I see a few writers that I think are really good and have a hard time growing past like the first novel that was really big
Mm,
and
hmm.
um and with editing in the state it's in right now, if you can sell a book, they may not really work on it, right? They'll just put it out. So like it's sad to watch because I believe growth is like the most exciting thing about writing. And I'd be okay with I mean I don't feel unsuccessful. I was I counted it up yesterday and I've published over 50 short stories, which, you know, I feel good about that.
That's a
Um,
decent chunk.
yeah, it's but the fact that nobody knows who I am and I haven't made any money, that's secondary.
Yeah.
Well, Gina, what are you working on now? Do you have anything else coming out soon?
Yeah. So the one I'm really excited right now, I just barely finished and submitted to Jeff Wheeler, who is the one who's working on this anthology. It's deep magic, easy and used to do.
You've been in more than one of those.
I have been in one, and this will be
Oh,
my
this will be the
second
second.
anthology.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I used to be a board member for a while, and so I just finished a story that I'm submitting to that. It's going to be a Kickstarter in a week or so, or a month or so here. Um, and I am really happy about that story. It is also about, it's not a ghost story, but it is um, very much about opportunities and change and a little bit of grief. And so yeah, that's what I'm working on. Well, like I said, I just finished it. I'm really excited about it. And then, like you, I am terrible at sticking to genres because the other thing that I'm working on right now is a contemporary rom-com.
Oh,
Um,
I love
so
it. Yeah, I'm pro that. I mean, essentially, my two novels that have been published, one is a rom-com and the other one pretends to be a rom-com but isn't.
okay.
So I have nothing against the genre.
Yeah.
Like most
All right.
certainly not. So
Yeah. So
that's
what about
exciting.
you?
I have a few things coming out. I have a novella coming out at the end of the month, from Dragonsoul Press, and I have, I think, 4 short stories and 3 or 4 poems and an essay in the pipeline, just waiting to show up. So there's stuff coming, but I think what I want to be able to announce but can't yet is the novel I'm working on. I really want to buckle down and finish it because I think it's really great and I really want people to see it. And it's and yeah, so that's the thing that's like taking most of my
Mm.
attention at the moment. Um, but you know, I can't stop doing little things. It's a
Yeah.
personality flaw.
Yeah, it is a challenge.
Well,
Cool.
Tina, it was lovely to talk to you.
It's fun to talk to you
We've
too.
known each other in a way for quite a while,
Yeah,
but I don't know that we've ever spoken.
I don't think so. I was trying to remember and I thought, well, I mean, I know you from the Lit Blitz a little bit, and I know you from Ariantum a little bit. And but yeah, no, I don't think we've ever actually talked. So
Yeah. Well, it was great. I'm sorry that the meeting doesn't last forever, but Zoom is only
no,
allows 4 more minutes. So
this is probably a good link. But yeah, yeah, it was fun to actually chat. How is Ariantum going anyway?
great.
Any
Thanks for asking. We
yeah.
have an issue coming out this month, so look for that, called
Cool,
Restorations, and we'll have one more this year, and bunch more coming.
cool.
We have a mysteries issue coming out.
I know Kathy is editing it, and
Yeah.
just, I'm just, I always want to write mystery. Like I want to write a
Yeah.
mystery, and my brain, much like chess, I feel like that thinking multiple steps ahead and figuring out like is not a strong suit, but I really want to try, and I would love to write a mystery for Kathy. So I'm like, okay, I have to think of something that will
Yeah.
that will appeal to her because yeah, I love Kathy to
It's
pieces.
anonymous submission, so I'm going to try. That's actually the short story that wants to be a novel. That's who it's
Oh,
for. So if I can figure it out, it's all anonymous submission. So I don't.
yeah.
I mean, you could argue I shouldn't submit since I'm like the magazine's head editor, but I'm a gonna if I get it done. And if it doesn't
Yeah.
show up, you'll know I either didn't finish it or she didn't like it. So
You absolutely should submit. That's awesome. Yeah, I like that it's anonymous because otherwise I would not even think about it because Kathy and I are friends. We beta read for each other. I've
Mm.
read her novels, and um, so if if it weren't anonymous, I would not submit.
It's kind of
As it
a
is,
niche community.
I probably won't because I won't come up with anything that's worth it. But
The tight structure of mystery is really intimidating to me. Um, but also I think a really good challenge that I should take on. So
yeah,
that's
and it's so much. I mean, I love watching mysteries unfold. I love reading mysteries because I
mhm.
love to see them unfold and suddenly go, aha, the butler did it, or
Yeah.
Um, so, but I've never been able to work backward and understand how mystery authors put it together. Like I'm just
Yeah,
so
it's a mystery. So, but
it is
we're gonna crack this. We're gonna crack it. So
good.
maybe
I
we can
look
beta read
forward
for each
to.
other on this one since you can't rely on Kathy.
Oh yeah. Hey, if you finish yours, when you finish yours, feel free to send it along.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will.
Maybe I will then be inspired and
And
actually
then
come up
yeah,
with
I'll try
something.
to peer pressure you. So, all
Perfect.
right.
Perfect.
Well,
All
it was
right.
lovely
Thanks. It
talking
was
to
fun
you.
chatting.